Happy Sunday. Come on in the space. I am trying to connect. There we go. I'm trying to connect to IG, even as I am on StreamYard, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Happy Sunday. Come on in the space. If you're here live, just say hey. Just let me know you're here. Say hello. It's Sunday. It's the Pentecost. It's National Cancer Survivors Day. It's World Environmental Day, and probably not coincidentally, National Veggie Burger Day. The day which recognizes the positive impact of plant-based burgers on us and the planet. So kind of impacting the environment in that way. It's Sunday, and I'm Renita Alexander, the Leadership Locksmith. This is Set It Up Sunday, my weekly discussion on setting up your week, your month, your year for success in whichever way you define success. I am back in Chicago after, excuse me, a week spent traveling. It's a little hard on my body. So I found myself moving a little slow the last couple of days, and I've got a little, I think, maybe allergy related congestion going on. I don't have COVID. I have tested. I do not have COVID. I feel very blessed. I haven't had it, and I feel very blessed in that regard. I spent the last couple of weeks going through some things to think about as you pre-plan your week, which according to the folks at Lifehack, I mentioned them the last couple of weeks, only about 1% of professionals do. That is the pre-planning. However, I did read an article just a couple of days ago that indicated about 18% of folks do use some kind of system to manage their time. And that incorporated some reflection, some prioritization, which is all the pre-planning is. And so maybe it's a little bit higher number, but still not a lot of people doing the planning for a week. And as I said at the end of last week, I've planned and I've not planned. And for me, the planning just makes my life go a lot more smoothly. And I do a lot of workshops on this. In fact, I'm doing a couple of workshops next week on sort of balance. And when I'm doing, anything around managing time or balancing aspect of our lives, which it's really all about focusing your energy in a way that integrates all of who you are in your life that should work for you. So that's really what it's all about. And so as a part of the pre-planning, just to review, a part of the pre-planning is really understanding your why, your purpose, your reason for being here on this earth, or at least, if you're not 100% sure you're on the right path, what is it that you need to be here in this particular time? And then the second part that I have focused on is the who. And that is all the roles we fulfill. And so, for instance, this past week, as I said, I spent traveling. And then this weekend I had my niece. So this last 10 days or so were more about the roles that I play as, a childhood friend, a sorority sister, an aunt, a mother. I, did something that was important to me and hopefully important to the people that I spent time with this past 10 days or so. And so that was where my focus was. Today, we're going to finish up the what of planning, which was the third thing. So I talked about the why, the who, and the what. And the what includes deciding on a data plan, identifying the priorities, and making sure you're not overloading your priority list. And then also some reflecting and reviewing of previous weeks. If you've done some kind of planning before, even if you haven't, just making sure you're kind of understanding what did and didn't work. And so today, as I said, I'm going to talk about the actual blocking. So we're going to, talk about actually putting things on the calendar, using all of the things that we've already talked about. And I'm going to start with the what. And so included in what was deciding on a day to plan. And so that should really, I think, be kind of the first thing you decide is when are you going to do your planning, and put that on your calendar. Now, the experts say that the best days are Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. As I said a couple of weeks ago, if you've already started the week, then you're sort of already behind the power curve. So, planning what day you're going to plan, and then reviewing and reflecting how things have worked for you previously. Now, again, if you have never planned in this way, or maybe you simply had a to-do list, how do you feel about what happened? So that should be a part of that planning once you decide on the day. And then also as after you review is kind of start thinking about the priorities, making sure you're putting those big items first. And the biggest item, and I don't remember if I talked about this the first week, but the biggest item, I think the most important thing to have on your calendar first is you, right? We can have the capacity, the raw talent, the skills, but if we don't care for ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, our capacity is diminished. And a friend of mine shared on, I think it was Facebook, how she had found herself asleep the whole weekend, kind of unplanned. One of the things I have learned is if we don't plan to rest our bodies and give our bodies the care that they need, our bodies will just take that time in a way that may be very inconvenient for us. And so if we can be a little bit more intentional about planning that downtime so that we can take care of ourselves, it just, life goes smoother. I always use the analogy or the example from flying. Now that we're flying again pretty significantly, I know I had many flights over the last 10 days, but they always tell you to put your mask on first in case of an emergency. They say put your mask on first, right? And because if we can't breathe, we can't do anything else. We can't help anybody else. And so we don't question that. But in real life, we're often flying from one family or friend crisis to another. We're flailing and failing and falling because we're operating without oxygen. We're not taking care of ourselves. We are trying to help others and we can't breathe. And so the first part, the first big thing for your week should be making sure you're on the schedule. And then a part of that is also believing you should be on the schedule, that you should be a priority in your plan. So now I know that, especially women, I know that is not how many of us were socialized. But that is something that is important. It is self-care. It's not selfish. And it's important if you're going to live into your purpose. And it's especially important in this abnormal normal. We're still, in a time of crisis where we are dealing with a lot. I talked about this last week. We're just dealing with a lot. So it is important that we take care of ourselves. And then, of course, after, making sure you're on that schedule, looking back to your why. What is the one big project that you're going to tackle this week that is in support of your purpose? And then how much time can you really dedicate to working on it and blocking out that project and time for it on a daily basis? It can, maybe it's only a few minutes on some days, but making sure that you are working toward it and being realistic about how much time you need to accomplish the steps in a reasonably that you can actually, achieve. You want to be able to have a win. So, if you overload it, and you don't finish it, then that, leaves you feeling like you haven't accomplished something. That big project can be a foundational piece. It can be something that's a building block to your empire. It can be, preparation for that job promotion that you're looking for. It could also be something you're doing to develop your talent or your skill, or studying those who have been successful doing what you want to do, because success does leave clues. And then what are the things that are already there, perhaps that you planned at, maybe weeks in advance? I've accepted a couple of invitations to speak next week. So this week I'll spend time prepping for those conversations I'll have next week. Then the who is, those are the roles that, again, you have to play each week. So it's the end of the school year. What are the big ceremonies that your kids are involved in? Or maybe it's not your kids, maybe it's, your nieces and nephews, real or play, the young people that you're involved with. And it's okay to ask, their parents, if they're not, old enough maybe to know what those things are. It's okay to ask. I know sometimes parents forget. That's happened to me, where I've been, given some information at the last minute and wasn't able to respond. So it's okay to ask if you're planning, the parents of those kids whose lives you're involved in, if there's things going on with them, if they're coming up on some milestones. It's the time of the year when people are getting married. So, whose wedding do you need to attend? That kind of thing. So school related, graduation, all the roles that you play that require you to be at these milestones, you want to make sure those things are on the calendar. And then what are the meetings and the administrative things that happen on a regular basis? Again, be it your own empire that you're building, or the promotion or the job that you're trying, the project at the job that you're trying to get accomplished. What are those things? Now, one of the things that I learned to do, and I love it when I see people do this, and you may not be able to do this, but that is setting aside specific time to do some administrative things, like, to answer those emails, to return phone calls. We now have the focus feature on our phone, so people can see that you've got notifications off for whatever reason. They can send a message to you anyway, maybe knowing that you may not be able to respond right away. And so you may not be able to do that. One of my favorite things I would see is when I would send emails to people, and this one lady I'm thinking about in particular, I'd send an email to her and I'd get a response back right away that said she would be checking her emails at a specific time, which I loved. And I loved the way that she used her time in that way, because it's really great to be able to focus on those things. Otherwise, if you're doing that, throughout the day, it can take you away from the things that you really want to be focused on. And you really, want to make sure those big things, those priority things, don't get interfered with. So if you set aside time for those administrative things, or just time to be in your office. One of the things that I did in my last military job is schedule office time. And so that was time when, people knew that I was available in the office, and if they needed to drop by for whatever reason, they could. So those are the things that can help you plan your week. Those are the things that can go into helping you plan your week. Having a planner, if you already use some kind of planner, making sure that you're actually using that. I use my phone for a lot of the planning that I do. But there's something about having a plan, writing or typing it in, that creates commitment. It creates clarity. It creates some space. And so however amount of time you want to spend on the day that you set aside to actually do that planning, commit to that. And then, turn off the TV and the phone, and actually do it. Just actually spend time doing it. And one last thing I just want to share as we run out of time, I try to get this done in about 15 minutes. It's okay to ask for help. I've learned that asking for help, doesn't make me, or didn't make me, or, when I was actively momming with a young child, it didn't make me less of a mom or a lesser leader. it asking for and genuinely receiving the help that was offered really just made me a more humble, humane human being. And so, make your plan, ask for help, and be successful. And that's it. I'm going to give you the rest of your Sunday evening back. Have a great rest of your Sunday. If you've got ideas that you want to share with us, either if you, let's see if you're live here. Let me see. Do we have? I'm not seeing a lot of comments here. If you want to share now or after the fact, please do so on the things that you do to plan for your week. And I'll be right back here at 7:30 Central Standard Time next Sunday, and I hope you join me. Thanks for being here.